Hey, the rulers, DMO73 here, bringing you a showdown between myself on Crossing Point Alhamaat versus Azure trying to take me down with Lilius Petal. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, as well as our guest lecturer members Vite Ramen and Full Grammar Alchemist. Class is in session. So as we get into it here, just a reminder that you can go over to Odyssey Games' website to get your pre-orders in for 10 Oaths, the final set of the Trinity cluster. You can even select the pick up and store option with a note to pick it up at FowFest as it drops 1 week before the festival. We hope to see you there. So Azure is playing his take on Red, Green, Black Fox. It's pretty similar to the one that you saw me play at the first release. He is, however, using Garyon on part of True Power, which I was not using in my list. And then Alhamaat is taking use of what we've seen before with Crossing Point. When this card was first shown off, I was like, oh, this is an Alhamaat card. He wants to play a bunch of different ancient magics. He wants to play lots of chants. This is great. And then they followed it up with making his cards for Masterpiece 2 essentially be token generators. So I was like, oh yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense. We are going to play into this, and because we have to play this bigger deck, and because Alhamaat already has some of his own token generation, we can make use of Shetalkin to kind of filter through and expel stuff and accelerate it, rather than trying to do the fishing spot stuff that we've kind of seen before, or in the case of Garmheld, you saw me do it with making use of the token generation that he has. So Golden Kitsune's Pearl is here to start with for Azure. He's going to go ahead and Judgment on turn 1 here. He knows that top stone of his deck is a killing stone at this point, so he's just going to go straight into it. And playing against a black-white Energize, he's pretty safe. He's not really going to have to worry about any kind of cancels there. Do see that first stone killing stone. So pretty good spot for him to be in. He does have, as you saw there, Tony plus Yigdor, but he's deciding to do a Look of Corruption instead, which I think is an interesting decision. It's probably trying to get the potentially get the sub-ruler out of my hand, the Regalia out of my hand. We're going to quickly burn a few things in beforehand. I cast Strange Miracle there. It shouldn't have quick cast yet. I have to get the sub-ruler active, or at least the Regalia active, before it can have quick cast. So I'm just kind of essentially giving Azure more information than he should have for a little bit more digging. We see a Shetalkin, we see the sub-ruler, we see the Painter here. Now the Painter is used to give every card in my deck darkness, so that with the Regalia and the sub-ruler, all of them will have quick cast, because it gives darkness and light ancient magics quick cast. So that's kind of the idea. Then you see there's the Shetalkin there as well to kind of help fix the hand and also accelerate Crossing Point here. Now the nice thing is, because we did get to cast a chant with Heartfelt Fire, we are going to get to expel a chant already for Crossing Point at the end of turn 1, which is awesome. And so we're just going to kind of accept that that's going to happen. We're going to get to move into our turn. I do think I missed Crossing Point expelling something there. Hopefully we catch it later. We get a Resonance trigger off of the Light Water Stone. We're going to burn 2 mana counters. We're going to start by playing Shetalkin. We're going to burn a couple mana counters to get our Deadeye of Astaroth out, and then we're going to get to expel that chant at the end of the turn. So we should actually be at 1 more chant expelled. I just completely forgot to do it on Azure's turn. So remember your triggers, kids. So leaving up here, I mean, we still have Shetalkin, we still have Deadeye, who's going to get us a mana counter back, and we still have Coin, which is black-white. So pretty good position here. Ultimately, saving the Heartfelt Fire might have been more important here, to try to like respond to something being animated by killing one Resonator before he can get the other one. And there we go. Yeah, we've caught it at this point in time that I should have done Heartfelt at the end of his turn and then Strange Miracle at the end of mine. So we go ahead and check what that first stone is before recovery. We're going to move to recovery here. Getting to 4C thanks to Deadeye is very nice. This does set us up for being able to use Shetalkin to kind of expel the bottom card if we want to. We see this first Suya. Now this is what I'm talking about with Ancient Heartfelt Fire. If we had kept the Heartfelt, we would be in a position here where in response to Suya's Enter effect, we could potentially burn the Suya before it gets bigger so that he doesn't have a Resonator to be able to like sack. Ultimately, it's a little bit risky now that he hits its second stone, because he could just respond then to that with like a Tony the five-tailed fox to try to go in for a chimera. We're going to accept that we're going to lose the Shutulkin. We're going to see a quick cast in of Chubby five-tailed fox. See, again, now that the Suya is bigger, it doesn't super help us. We do get to draw and then discard. We could continue to cycle. We see another strange miracle there. Also could just try to continue to rip his hand apart. We do have the ability to kind of do whatever we want here. He does go in for the Tony draw discard and then a second draw discard, so he's not trying to do a stone cycle here, catching a Witch of the Fallen Kingdom, which is something also I was not playing in my build. He's going to sacrifice the 3 and we're going to go drain and gain. In response to all those triggers though, we're going to do Viola's Machinations for 1 because it does have quick cast, essentially net neutral on mana counters. We do get a discard of a Gone. And then we say, that's fine, you can go ahead and resolve everything there. The reason why he's doing the Yigdor now is because he's going to get Griffin, which is going to get him 2 stones. Those come into play. One of them is a Windstone, hitting the resin drop, so he does get to reanimate the Yigdor, sacrificing the other Killing Stone and getting both Killing Stones back. So he gets to eventually drain me 2 and gain 2, setting himself up nicely for if he can find that Witch of the Fallen Kingdom, you know, find a way to reanimate it with Part of True Power. We could see some pretty heavy aggression, and he's got Lorite and Oberazuki in hand to be able to kind of interact. He could play the Oberazuki here just to continue his value engine piece. He does have to kind of watch out for if there's any board wipes coming down, because we are, you know, generating mana counters. We will have will, we will have extra resonance from Calling Stone, so you know, something like a World Flame summoning or could be pretty bad. We see even more discard here. We see Viola's Machinations. That's probably going to get cast here just to kind of force another card out of his hand, leaving him with essentially just a Lorite. We're going to try to draw 1, shuffle 1 back in. Continuing to generate those mana counters is kind of huge. There is a world where Apathy could be pretty good. It's just a matter of, you know, how many mana counters we can get. We do see a Viola's Machinations come down here to force a discard, gets rid of the Oberazuki. So at this point in time, only card in hand is a Lorite. We're going to go ahead and go Strange Miracle, the cycle. Pay 1, we got a Shutulkin back out there, so continuing to set up the draw engine, and then we're going to go ahead and pass turn, 4C, and get an extra mana counter. And Crossing Point's going to attempt to get a card expelled as well. So we have 5 chance expelled, or 4 chance expelled. We're going to go to 5. Shutulkin could get us to 6, and then Crossing Point can get us to 7. So there's a real chance where we're like 2 turns away, right? Especially if we have something like, if we can find and top deck into something like a high-speed uppercut treatment, which can then, you know, get us an 8th spell. So like we're very close to the potential possibility of being able to hit Crossing Point being live on our turn 3, which is very real. At the end of the turn, we're going to go ahead and go in for another Chimera. He's going to go for another Griffin. That's another difference between our 2 decks. I am only playing 1. He is playing 2. Now Yigdor gets to come back in. He's going to sack the Killing Stone and cycle again. Gets to get both Killing Stones back, draw a card, drain and gain as well. Does have 1 extra card in hand. Does look like it might have been another Yigdor. It is the Part of True Power, actually, which is very interesting. So he's now at a position where we can start kind of going for the... if we can get another Resonator on board, which, you know, he has, where he could just accept the Yigdor's kind of like swing and then sacrifice it. We could see a Witch of the Fallen Kingdom push out here as we go into this turn to just kind of close out the game. And you can kind of see just how an uninterrupted Fox can really just have so much advantage. We do have Girl Staring At still in hand, which could be pretty good. We're going to see a Look of Corruption come down. There is a world where we do the Girl Staring At this point in time, but we choose to discard it instead. So we have another counter out, or another Resonator out, because he can't possibly discard the Long Shadow, because it's a 6-drop. So we do have a blocker for the Griffin now, which is nice. And we do have enough mana counters to be able to cast Long Shadow if we need to. Currently, our Resonators are Dragonoids, so we kind of are at a position. Now, we obviously wish this was Apathy, because if this was Apathy, I'd be in a much better shape. Although I also think that there's a world where we were supposed to cast that girl staring at there, just because it cycles as a card which he might discard, but then at that point in time we further chimeras don't get him anything this turn. It's just not that great of a position. Now we do have Shitalkin, who will be able to draw and see what our potential, what we're getting back. Gonna go ahead and swing in for there. We're gonna block with the token, swings in with Yigdor. We'll take the damage, go down to 26. Goes for the part of true power here, probably sacrificing the Yigdor, I imagine, to try to get the Witch of the Fallen Kingdom back. We're gonna respond with Shitalkin, see what we can see off the top. We see a Zacky's new plan, but unfortunately we don't have a water card to expel for it, which is a little unfortunate. We do get to get that out of the way. We don't have the mana to be able to cast it, unfortunately. So we also could have RFG'd or expelled the new plan here to try to do the God's Art, but ultimately we're going to try to do God's Art for something else, Heartfelt Fire, but ultimately has the Lorite, as we saw before. It's been holding on to that so that can stop the God's Art for Alhamaat, which just means we're going to get blasted by a Pumpkin Witch line there. It's just Black Witch into Pumpkin Witch, sack to make a another Chimera after the stuff is swung, and then you just finish the game off that way. So we're going into game 2 here. Alhamaat is going to get to go first, which means we do suddenly have our sub-ruler live. This is really nice. This means that we get that quick cast and remnant piece right out the gate, and we can start kind of generating those extra mana counters right away. So this is very helpful, especially when you think of things like Viola's Machinations being like, quote, mana neutral, because they refund the mana counter. So you can burn a mana counter. As long as you have one initially to banish, you can burn it, as you'll see here. Before draw on his turn, before the end of my turn, we're gonna do Viola's Machinations, burn a mana counter, get a mana counter back, make him discard a card, and then do it again from the RFG. So then, and then we can expel it. So we just get to rip 2 cards out of his hand. Now imagine if he had multiple Viola's Machinations at this point. Like, there's a world where Azure just has no hand at the beginning of the game. It's a little bit of an inherent downside with having to play so many cards. We are having to play 50. So we do see the Shitalkin potentially being a problem for him, just if I can continue to rip his hand apart. Do see a paying 100 for a Suya. We're going to go ahead and expel a card because we only have 1 stone to do Mirror, lock us to main phases and draw a card, though I forget to draw a card. And then another Suya comes down here. So that's my fault. I should have 1 more card in hand. We're going to generate a mana counter in 4C1. We draw. We move to recovery. Call a stone without having to tap. That's the other benefit of the sub-ruler here. We do see another Shitalkin come down. So it's just like, hey, we saw both of these off of the off of the first Shitalkin tap. So like, hey, we'll just get extra value. No extra chance to hit here, unfortunately. So probably willing to accept the damage if he swings with this Suya. We do see a Oborozuki cast here. In response to the enter effect of the Oborozuki, again, we want to minimize options. The beauty of Ancient Magics is that there's a lot of them, so we can use Sympathy of Fire and Wind to burn both the Suya and the Oborozuki off of the board. Get those clean. And the other nice thing about how mana counters work, we've talked about this before, is the fact that you're actually producing will for these cards. So you're not discounting them or anything, which is really, really nice. So things like Mirror don't really affect them. New Plan, if you're paying for a higher cost, can't stop them. Like those kinds of things. So he's keeping the Lorite there. He casts another Suya, and we're saying, okay, well, we're just continuing to lose these Shitalkins as we continue to go back and forth. So let's use the Shitalkin to look at the bottom 2, hitting another Shitalkin. So we've just seen all 4 of them in this game, which is pretty funny. In the end step of his turn, we're going to go ahead and use 2 more mana counters for the Sympathy of Fire and Wind, which gets us a stone, which then triggers Alhamaat and kind of refunds it. So that was, Sympathy was ramp for 1 mana counter, essentially. And then at the end of the turn, we're going to generate a mana counter. Still forgot to expel a chant there. Should have expelled the Sympathy of Fire and Wind. Getting rid of the Loki's Insight doesn't feel like it's potentially going to do that much this time, although it does look like I continue to hold on to it for what I'm shuffling in, catching that I should have done the expel there. So now we are at, if you can see, we have 4 chants expelled. We need to get to 8. And Shatalkin, number 4, comes down here, putting us at a pretty solid position. Not a ton of cards in hand. We do have a mirror to be able to interact. Looking at top of guard here. Probably going to see this Loki's Insight come down for his turn after draw before recovery. Just to try to maybe maximize his hand rip, but ultimately, no, we just say, you know what, you have a lot of stuff that might not be quick cast. We're going to wait just a minute. We'll take the damage from the Suya, go down to 3,000. Do you see he has, looks like he Yigdor, Tony, the Sub-Ruler as well, the Regalia, which he could try to cast for 2 now. He just has not seen those Killing Stones yet, so that's a real unfortunate piece here. Rearranging the expel pile because it's important to note what was expelled by the Shatalkin and other means versus what was expelled by the Crossing Point for the purpose of the God's Art. It can only copy things that it expelled. We're going to go ahead and cast Curse of Ragnarok for 1 from hand, or from RFG, thanks to the Suya that's on board. So now we're going to go ahead and burn the Loki's Insight. Which is going to result in a quick cast of the Chubby Five-Tailed Fox. Does have some inherent weakness here, the fact that he could draw into quick cast stuff. We could burn a mirror here, but ultimately we're like, we're already trying to discard cards. I'd rather save the mirror for if you do a Fox effect, and then say, nah, actually, you know what? Let's just get rid of it. So Loki's Insight's going to try to resolve. Nothing quick cast there, or can hit the Yigdor, which he wanted to discard anyway, and then he has the 2 Sub-Rulers. So unfortunately for Azure, just not much of a hand here, and then we lose our other, we're going to lose the card anyway. That was, I think, why we decided to go ahead and use the mirror to the Curse of Rag. We can look at the top 2, get another one expelled, keep that in hand, and get rid of a Arrival of the Conqueror. We are now at 8 because of the mirror, so we get to now draw 2 cards a turn, which is huge. Gonna go ahead and perform Judgment. We have 7 mana counters. So we have Alhamaat flipped over here, so now our Resonance triggers are going to be 2 magic counters, although right now it's mainly about getting Dragonoids onto the field, and also just, he is a very large flying body at this point, thanks to the pump from Crossing Point. We're feeling pretty good about what our position in this game is, given that Azure's hand is at this point in time just 2 Sub-Rulers and he still doesn't have a Killing Stone. Azure will probably want to just go ahead and try to Judgment this turn based on what he sees. You could play the Sub-Ruler for 2, check your do the Judgment. He's going to pay 2 for a Lorite before recovery. This feels really risky. This does let him play the Regalia for 1. I don't really think you care that much versus 1 versus 2. So we play it for 1. We're going to ascend to, it doesn't have an enter effect, so we'll perform Judgment immediately. That then has a Fate trigger. We're just seeing if I have anything before the cast of the Golden Kitsune's Pearl happens. I say, no, that's fine. Golden Kitsune's Pearls can resolve. You can then perform Judgment. It'll flip over. That's unchaseable. And so then we're like, okay, he's going to try to resolve Judgment. We're going to go ahead and let that resolve. And then in response to the enter effect that's granted to him, we're going to cast Amphitheater. So Amphitheater is going to cancel the target trigger to ramp him a stone, and I'm going to steal his Suya. So this is like pretty back-breakingly game here. He doesn't get a stone. He doesn't have a killing stone active. I'm going to steal his only darkness resonator. He can't possibly get Yigdor back this turn, given the fact that he does not have access to a stone to ramp in. Like this, I mean, this is very, very bad for him. This is keeping that Amphitheater off of the through Shitalkin was very, very good in this position. Gonna go ahead and see if there's anything else that Azure wants to do this turn. He's like, oh, you know what? We'll go ahead and just tap out and play the Golden Kitsune's Pearl. You can get a something for later. We move to use Shitalkin. We get another painter there, and we'll get, as you saw, Viola's Machinations. So we have Viola's Machinations and Zacky's new plan in hand. So at this point in time, there's like nothing that Azure will really be able to do to stop us. We also have the God's Art, so we could recast Amphitheater if we needed to. And you saw there we have a Heartfelt Fire, which we can use to just burn the Lorite out of the way. So at this point in time, we're going to call Stone, get 2 more Fire Resonance. And if we just swing out with everything that is lethal here, or it's just shy of it, because this will be 15, and then it'll be another 10. No, yeah, it will be lethal if we just swing out. But ultimately, I don't swing with the Shitalkin for some reason. I don't think I just realized, like, hey, just swing out. I think I'm just trying to be overly cautious here. And so we just pass the turn. And then Azure draws for turn. After draw before recovery, though, we're just going to go ahead and cast Viola's Machinations. It has quick cast to make him discard it. It was a Lorite. Doesn't get him any value there. He can reanimate here with the Kitsune's Pearl if he wants to, although we can always just God's Art. Although we haven't hit our Moon Source, so we don't currently have access to God's Art here. Can call Stone. We can get Yigdor into play. Finally hits that Killing Stone. Can get Yigdor into play if he wants it. It's not going to do much good. Although there isn't a position where you could get Yigdor back and then try to reanimate something with Golden Kitsune's Pearl and then go into a Chimera. But at this point in time, it's so far behind that I don't know much of what you could do here, especially with there's no Persephone in graveyard. There's no Witch of the Fallen Kingdom in graveyard. Like, it's not a great spot. There's no Part of True Power in graveyard either. He's going to try to go for the Yigdor ability here. We're going to go ahead and respond with a Strange Miracle. Casting it again because it has Remnant, being a light magic chant. You say that's fine. You can get Yigdor back. Gets Yigdor here. Gets to get the stone right back. Tries to use the Pearl to make a Resonator. Reanimate one. Probably going to be the Oberazuki, I imagine. Because it might get him another card in hand, right? He could top deck into Witch of the Fallen Kingdom. Gonna use Shitalkin, continue to dig. Shitalkin gets us a mirror, which we can use to stop the activation ability of the Pit Pearl, so we can't get Oberazuki back. And so then at that point in time, that will be game 2. We just go to our turn and swing out with Alhamaat, and that will be the lethal line. So from there, we'll be pushing into game 3 and seeing if Alhamaat can find his way against Fox here in game 3. So just recovering and then calling a stone, getting the resonance trigger, and then swinging out with the Suya to finish the game off. And that will take us into game 3. So going into game 3 here. Fox getting Pearl off the top there, getting a Killing Stone and a pass on turn 1. We're going to go ahead and go in for Deadeye of Astereth and Shitalkin. So once again, a great first setup here. Azure says, I do not want to deal with that. And just uses one-hit KO to kill the Shitalkin. We're fine with that though, because it, it makes it so that it's a little bit harder for him to get something on board. He didn't play a turn 1 Resonator, so if he tries to Judgment here, we have a good chance to respond. Does just decide to call a stone, hits a second Killing Stone here. Hitting our Lunar Stone here could be really good if we are able to get that Fox tapped down. We just see a pass. Rhea comes down here, probably going to send part of True Power. I imagine. You could also send a Persephone here. Oh, just decided to create Garion. That to me tells me that he has part of True Power in hand. Which means Garion could come down here. Not terribly concerning if a Garion comes down. We do have ways to answer it. Swings in for 4, gets some extra value of the life while he can. Going in for part of True Power here against this deck feels very risky. Does decide to go for it though. Part of True Power is going to come down here. Ray is going to trigger, and we are going to respond. We pay 200. We have Amphitheater again in hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to force C2 and expel all cards in removed areas and in graveyards. So now we just get to get rid of all of these cards, and then we get to expel the bottom 3 cards of my deck and draw a card. So just a really, really good hard counter to this attempt here. We do see the Regalia get expelled, so I have to respond. I will do that by drawing 1 and shuffling 1 back in, and then get rid of it because of the Mythic trigger. Like, this was a huge hit to Azure. Like, he can Judgment here, and he'll get a stone, so we have to have a follow-up. Does go for a Suya here to get my Sub-Ruler Regalia off the board. Now, that is a good play here. It at least gets, gets my continual advantage out of the way. Arguably, we should have done Quick Cast Fiola there while we had the mana counters, but that's okay, because instead we want to burn 2 mana counters to burn him and his face, and then we have, now we should probably should have saved that as well. We're gonna go ahead and burn 2 mana counters here at the end of our turn to ramp a stone, get a mana counter back. And now that we have the 5 stone types, we can start locking stuff down. So we'll lock down Fox, or if he taps, he doesn't get to recover, and then one of his Killing Stones. And so now Lunar Stone gets to do some pretty great work. If he wants to call Stone to go any further than what he is in right now, he's going to have to accept the fact that Fox is just going to stay locked down. So he needs to start getting stuff to resolve, otherwise he's in for a bad time. Now, arguably in game 1, I probably could have searched for Sympathy of, when I did the Sympathy of Firewind search, I could have searched for the Lunar Stone. It would still proc, and I could have maybe gotten that live sooner. This is one of the reasons why we're also only playing one of these stones. We do see a Rhea in main phase. That's going to get mirrored immediately. Just do not want to give him any options, especially since he does have a part of True Power in graveyard. And in hand, I don't have the best way to be able to respond to it. We are going to see if he's going to do something in response to the mirror, which might argue that we might see a Persephone to put it back in hand and save the Rhea for later. That's exactly what is going to happen. And we're saying, you know what, that's fine. That works. If that's what you want to do, you want to save the Rhea for later. You can't cast the Rhea right now, so that is okay. Let's see, a draw for turn. Not generating extra mana counters right now is a little rough, but we at least can get them for Calling Stone. And then we're going to do Arrival of the Conqueror, using the mode to try to steal quick cast stuff and try to buy back Shitalkin to get our value engine back online. Do see that Rhea come in here, and we're probably going to throw the mirror to stop that at this point in time. We have another one there. Keeps us getting towards Crossing Point here. No quick cast cards in hand, just a Garion and another Regalia. We are at 7 chance in the Expel, so if we can get one more chant cast, then, you know, we're in good shape. I probably should have just cast the Fiola's Machinations again. His Fox is now locked. This is what I was saying about, like, this is not a good hand. Unfortunately, he drew into another copy of the Regalia. He does have 2 Killing Stones, though, so it only costs him 1, and we say that's fine. He can now start to try to reanimate the Persephone, which is pretty good. The problem is right now Persephone would have to target itself, so it would, like, essentially be pay 2, draw 1, which at instant speed's not bad. Like, certainly an end of turn, you know, pay 2, draw 1, pretty good. Or if I try to go in for a Judgment of Alhamaat, Persephone here could be pretty good. He does go to do Suya here, I think, or might just pass turn, realizing that Shitalkin has barrier, so you can't really hit it. So not going to be able to use Persephone to kill the Shitalkin. We're just going to go ahead and expel Viola's Machinations from hand. We know that his hand is not super great, so we're just like, we're just going to expel it from hand and get ourselves to being live for Crossing Point here. So now everyone's a little bit bigger, a little bit meaner. Down comes the Solar Painter. This is, I mean, it's a 5-12 or a 10-12 at this point in time. Because we don't have the Regalia or the Subruler live, like, this isn't helping us much, because we're just not getting much value out of it, because we need that quick cast element. And so to do that, we need a black, we need the Subruler to be live. Does see a Suya animated here. Now, I'm not entirely sure if he could have animated the Suya, because technically in graveyard, I believe Suya is a 3-drop. But in the moment, we just said we didn't fight over that argument. We didn't fight over that position. We were like, okay, Shitalkin's kind of done his job. We're just going to let it get sacked, which is okay. Does have that top-decked Obrazuki, which can give us some extra dig, which is helpful. And now Persephone still cannot target Solar Painter. I'm going to go ahead and cast the Obrazuki. Look at top 3. We do see a chubby 5-tailed fox, a Lorite, and a 1-hit KO. The KO is probably going to get removed. The chubby fox can go to graveyard, mainly because it can get re-grabbed off of the Subruler. But you're starting to see, like, how the Lunar Stone on a deck that likes to flip its J-Ruler is a lot. Like, and unfortunately, this honestly wouldn't be that big of a deal if he had been able to get to a Chimera, right? Because you still just make all this extra will. It doesn't really matter for Fox Calling Stones. But unfortunately, just did not see what he needed to in the early game to be able to get to the Chimeras, getting any real value. So we're going to search for a... we try to search for a... Ancient Magic. Then we're going to expel Rune of Soul with the Subruler, and now we're going, or the extension rule, and now we're going to consider using the God's Art of the extension rule to recast Rune of Soul. The idea here is that we are trying to cast some pretty good stuff here. Girl Staring At in response to the Lorite We're going to go ahead and burn some mana counters before the Lorite resolves to get the Oberazuki and the Suya off the board, just so even though we're Undergirl Staring At, he just does not have any Darkness Resonators. Rune of Soul copy is going to attempt to finish resolving because the Lorite didn't successfully cancel the God's Art, and we can now go get an Ancient Heartfelt Fire. I know that seems like a lot of work just to get Heartfelt Fire, but we are trying to get Alhamaat judgmented. That's the whole point here. We need a Dragonoid on the board because we have Long Shadow in the hand and we want to try to apply pressure. We want to try to win. And we need 7 mana counters to be able to judgment, and so Alhamaat needs those Heartfelt Fires to make it happen. We do see a Deadeye of Astaroth come out here, call Stone one more time, get another mana counter. This is a little bit risky for me. I think that there's a world where we could just go for the Heartfelt Fires and try to judgment this turn. We are going to go ahead and do Viola's Machinations, get rid of one of the cards in his hand. It does not have Remnants yet. I catch that in a second. I'm like, oh wait, no, it does not have Remnant, so he doesn't have to discard a second card. Ancient Knowledge, Long Shadow, you can see there. The Heartfelt Fires are also really good here in case he tries to make a different, body. Because we need to keep him off of, this is a good strategy against Fox. Keep them on 1 Resonator total at any given time. Give it so that they don't ever get to, Resonators to be able to sacrifice to make a Chimera. Draws per turn. Still locking down Fox, although I think I did shift at this point in time to targeting the Pearl, so that if he taps it down, it's just going to stay tapped for forever. Before recovery, see a cast of a Witch of the Fallen Kingdom. We're going to respond to the cast of that by doing Dive to the Sunken Nation. So we're going to look at the top 5 cards, reveal them. Azure will get to put them into 2 piles, and I will get to pick one of the 2 piles to keep it in my hand, and the rest go expelled. So this is just me essentially trying to dig without digging, see if I can find something like this mirror, right? We probably keep the mirror and then use because the mirror here is the better card for us to keep. Like whatever he's gonna shoot at us, we're probably going to just keep the mirror. Arguably, in the position of Azure, I would have put 4 cards and then mirror like separately. Realize that I need to expel them. I get some stuff jumbled up here. I'm like, oh right, I'm supposed to expel the others, and I start to put the World Flame Summoning into the graveyard. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, actually no, this was exactly what I was supposed to do. Dropping a card, getting a little bit handsy here. We burned the mirror on the Witch, which I think is incorrect. I think arguably, because he's still only at 4 stones, the correct play here is to actually use Heartfelt Fire on the Lorite, so that when he then tries to do this Pearl activation, we can do Mirror on that and keep another body on board. Ultimately, though, we're going to go ahead and use Heartfelt Fire here to burn the Lorite so that he gets the Suya. The reason why to do it the other way would be, like, this way we're going to, because of how we're doing the Suya in the moment, I'm going to lose the body. Whereas if I didn't, if I did it the other way instead, I'd still be able to stop him from making a Chimera, and I would still have the Painter on field, which means that my Long Shadow is just even that much stronger, which is the kind of the point. So we're going to go ahead and burn for a Heartfelt Fire just to get ourselves up high enough. We're going to do it again for another Heartfelt Fire to get us up to 7 so we can perform Judgment. We need a Dragonoid on the field. That is the whole point. And now we have our Sub-Ruler live. So we have Quick Cast and Remnant, which means we can start using the Viola's Machinations to rip the rest of his hand apart. We're going to go ahead and lock down the Pearl now. And before recovering his turn, we're going to use Apathy of Light and Darkness to apply a -8 to his board for the turn. So really just saying, like, you are not getting, like, we're going to let you untap Fox and you call Fifth Stone, but you're not getting any Resonators this turn. Like, we're keeping the board clear, which is a really bad spot for him to be in, considering the fact that he doesn't have Pearl and he's top decking. So this is, you know, Apathy to really just lock him out. We could even animate his, if you really wanted to, we could animate his Garion, which would be, again, locks him out from any 1-drops. At that point in time, it's probably game. But again, we're trying to win with Alhamaat cards and not use Azure's cards against him. And I've been building up to this card for a bit in this matchup, so wanted to try to do things a little bit differently. So Azure just kind of, unfortunately, out of luck here. There's just not much he's going to be able to do against this board with what's in hand, given that I can draw another card. I've already burned the God's Art, so what's in Expel is just expelled. But he can use Curse of Ragnarok to try to rip a card. Can call a Fifth Stone, but there's no Yigdor engrave. Can gain some life here thanks to hitting the resin drop, but we didn't see a Yigdor at all, so there's not going to be any kind of way to reanimate that point in time. So he just has to pass. Hope for the best. You could use Curse of Rag here just to try to say, like, I'll just try to minimize your options and maybe you don't kill me and I get another turn, but it's not a super great position to be in. At the end of his turn, though, we are going to burn 6 counters, or 5 counters and a stone to do Long Shadow. We're going to get to pick the second mode 3 times, so we'll generate 1 counter and then 2 counters and then 4 counters. So we're going to go from 1 body to 8 bodies that are all pumped up from Crossing Point, and that will be the game. So thank you all so much for watching. Deck flow files for the Alhamaat list will be up later this week, and until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.